At the looming banquet, I subdued a frightened white deer. The Grand Princess asked my name in front of everyone. Anna's mother grabbed my hand and cut in with a smile. Her name is Anna. In my previous life, I didn't expose the lie. Every gift from the Grand Princess went to Anna, while I died in the coldest side courtyard of the Chin estate. After I was reborn, the white deer broke free of the red ribbon again and charged toward the women in the garden. Anna fell to the ground in terror and cried out to me, "Lucy, stop it!" But I didn't move right away. Anna's mother glared at me and hissed, "What are you waiting for? Hurry!" The red ribbon was tangled around the deer's leg. The more it struggled, the tighter it became, even cutting into its neck. Everyone screamed and backed away. In the end, I still walked over. Not for the Chin family, but because the deer had done nothing wrong. As I grabbed the ribbon, the deer suddenly raised its head. Its hoof scraped across the back of my hand, leaving a bloody gash. Anna cried even louder. "Lucy!" Gritting my teeth, I waited until the deer lowered its head, then ripped the ribbon away. Freed from its restraints, the deer fled deeper into the garden. The crowd fell silent and the Grand Princess laughed. What courage! She sat high above us in a golden crown and lavish robes, looking stern and commanding. "Which family are you from?" Anna's mother hurried forward with a huge smile. "Your Highness, this is my youngest daughter, Anna." Anna was still sitting on the ground, her face deathly pale. Everyone looked at her, but out of respect for the Chin family, they all stayed silent. The same thing happened in my previous life. Anna's mother insisted I was Anna. Back then, I lived under their roof, ate their food, and constantly thought about repaying their kindness. I told myself it was only a name. Anna was the Chin family's daughter, and already had more status than I did, so I lowered my head and accepted it. Afterward, the jade pendant, invitation card, silk, and handwritten invitation from the Grand Princess all ended up in Anna's hands. For the rest of my life at the Chin estate, I kept hearing, "Without Anna, you wouldn't have this comfortable life. You only helped a little. How dare you compete with the family's young lady? The Chin family raised you for years. You should be grateful." I stayed grateful until I had nothing left. The attendant beside the Grand Princess held the register and prepared to write. "Your Highness, my surname isn't Chin." The smile froze on Anna's mother's face, and Anna stopped crying. I dropped to my knees, blood still dripping from my hand. "My name is Lucy. Greetings, Your Highness." The crowd erupted. Anna's mother dug her nails into my flesh. "Have you lost your mind? Correct yourself right now." "Madam, I've never been more clear-headed." The Grand Princess raised an eyebrow and slowly sat upright. "Your name is Lucy?" "Yes." "Then who is Anna?" Anna's face turned red, then white. She timidly replied, "I am." That answer left Anna's mother with no way out. Someone below the platform chuckled softly. I followed the sound and saw a man standing behind a willow tree. He wore a pale blue robe and held half a scroll in his hand. Our eyes met, but I quickly looked away. I had never met him, at least not yet in this life. The Grand Princess didn't ask why Anna's mother had given the wrong name. She simply told her attendant to correct the record. "Lucy, foster daughter of the Chin family." I replied, "I'm not their foster daughter. I'm only staying at the Chin estate temporarily." Anna's mother's expression couldn't have looked worse. I knew there would be a huge fight when we returned, but I wasn't afraid anymore. The Grand Princess stared at me and suddenly smiled. "Temporarily?" Her tone was playful. "Then where are your household registration papers?" I fell silent. The Chin family held all my papers. My parents died when I was young, and my mother had been close to the Chin matriarch. When she brought me into the estate, she promised to return my mother's belongings once I came of age and find me a place of my own, but then she fell ill. Everyone claimed she couldn't bear to part with me and asked me to stay a few more years. Those few years lasted until my death. The Grand Princess didn't pressure me. She had someone bring over a deer-shaped jade pendant. "Come to my residence in 3 days." "Your Highness, she's young and doesn't understand proper etiquette. She might offend you." The Grand Princess glanced sideways at Anna's mother. "She didn't offend anyone just now." Anna's mother didn't dare say more. The pendant was placed in my palm, cool and heavy. In my previous life, I never even touched it. Anna wore it at her waist and showed it off for 3 whole years. On the ride home, Anna's mother looked furious, while Anna quietly watched me with red, tearful eyes. "Lucy, why did you have to expose us in front of everyone?" I leaned against the carriage wall. The blood on my hand had already dried. "Because that's my real name." But my mother had already spoken. "She gave the wrong name." Anna fell silent. Her mother finally spoke coldly. "So you think you're independent now?" I didn't answer. She stared at me, her voice growing colder. "You eat our food and use our things, yet today you humiliated the Chin family in public. Lucy, do you have no conscience?" I heard those same words my entire previous life. Every time I felt guilty and believed I owed the Chin family too much. Hearing them again now only made me tired. "If you feel cheated, madam, I can repay everything." Anna's mother sneered. "With what?" "My mother left a wooden chest containing land deeds, banknotes, and the deed to a small house. The matriarch told me herself." "You have all that?" The carriage stopped, and someone lifted the curtain from outside. Jack stood beside it in a white robe, his expression dark. He was Anna's older brother, and the person who had kept me trapped at the Chin estate the longest in my previous life. "You want your belongings back?" I was startled. He had returned too soon. In my previous life, he didn't come back from out of town until 3 days after the banquet. I gripped the jade pendant and calmly replied, "Yes." Jack looked at the wound on my hand. After a long silence, he said, "I'll give them to you." "Jack!" Jack ignored his mother and kept staring at me. His eyes held regret and the same obsession I remembered. I suddenly realized that he might have been reborn too. Jack had someone escort me back to my small courtyard. It wasn't large, but it was quiet. Soon after I sat down, he arrived holding a bandage. I pulled my hand away. "Don't trouble yourself, young master." Jack froze. I used to call him Brother Jack, but he told me to stop being so formal because we were family. I believed him. From then on, I lost both my title and my place. Jack sat across from me looking exhausted. "Lucy, I don't blame you for what happened today." I let out a quiet laugh. "How generous of you, young master." My words stung him and he frowned. "Do you have to talk to me like that?" "How else should I talk? Should I bow my head and apologize like I did before?" Jack's face instantly turned pale. The room fell silent as a bird chirped outside, then flew away. He asked hoarsely, "You really remember too? When were you reborn?" "The moment the white deer charged out." Jack closed his eyes. "Me too. No wonder he'd returned early. I didn't ask when he had died in his previous life. It didn't matter anymore." Jack placed the bandage on the table. "Lucy, I've thought about many things since coming back. The Chin family treated you terribly. We owe you. This time I'll protect you and never let Mother or Anna take your belongings again." I stared at the bandage without moving. In my previous life, those words would have made me cry. I would have finally felt seen. But after dying once and having my heart turn cold, words spoken too late meant nothing. "I'll retrieve my belongings myself." "You don't trust me?" "Whether I trust you or not, you can't stop me from leaving." His expression changed. "Leaving? I'll reclaim my papers and everything my mother left me, then move out of the Chin estate." Jack suddenly jumped to his feet. "No!" I looked up at him. Realizing he'd overreacted, he slowly sat back down. "Lucy, you're a woman alone. Where could you go after leaving the Chin family? The world is dangerous and people can't be trusted. Don't risk your safety out of anger." I laughed. "Was my previous life at the Chin estate really that comfortable?" Jack had no answer. "You said I couldn't leave. You said Anna was young, your mother had a bad temper, and the matriarch needed me while she was sick. After she died, you said the family was in chaos and forced me to wait again. When Anna attended banquets, you made me prepare everything. When your mother had headaches, you made me care for her. You promised to arrange my future, but you delayed it year after year." His hand slowly clenched into a fist. "Jack, I wasn't reborn just to hear you tell me to wait again." His eyes turned red. "I won't delay it this time. And I won't wait." Jack stopped breathing for a moment. Anna's voice came from outside. "Jack, Mom wants you." She entered and immediately became wary when she saw Jack and me sitting together. "What are you talking about?" Jack closed his eyes. "Nothing." Anna bit her lip. "Lucy," Mom said to hand over the pendant, "I'll go to the Grand Princess's residence for you in 3 days." Before I could speak, Jack coldly interrupted. "Who gave you permission to come here?" Anna froze. Jack had always spoiled her and given her everything she wanted. This was the first time he'd spoken to her like that, and her eyes immediately filled with tears. "Jack, you blame me too? She's the one who embarrassed the Chin family." "Think carefully about who really embarrassed us before you speak." Anna stood frozen. I walked toward her, and she instinctively stepped back. I took the pendant from my sleeve and tied it around my own waist. "I'll go myself in 3 days." The Chin estate was in chaos until midnight. Anna's mother smashed a teacup, Anna sobbed uncontrollably, and Jack stayed in the main room for a long time. I never appeared. In my previous life, I cared about everyone's feelings except my own. That night, I closed my eyes and finally slept peacefully. The next morning, Jack sent over a small wooden box containing my household registration papers and the deed to my mother's house. The land deeds and banknotes were missing. The servant said Jack told me not to worry because they were still searching the storeroom. I held the papers and stared at them for a long time. They were old and yellowed around the edges, but my real name, Lucy, was clearly written on them. My eyes burned with tears, not because of Jack, but because I'd finally found myself again. 3 days later, I went to the Grand Princess's residence. No one from the Chin family came with me. Anna's mother claimed to be sick, and I refused Jack's offer to come. When I stepped out of the carriage alone, the women outside noticed the deer pendant at my waist and began whispering. "Is that the girl who subdued the white deer at the looming banquet?" "They say she isn't the Chin family's daughter. Then why did Anna's mother give the wrong name that day?" I kept my eyes forward and followed the attendant inside. The estate was filled with lush flowers and trees. She led me to a waterside pavilion, where the man in pale blue from that day was organizing the Grand Princess's registers. He looked up, and I bowed. "Greetings, sir." He put down his brush and returned the greeting. "Miss Lucy," I froze for a moment. Those words sounded unusually gentle coming from him. The Grand Princess stepped out from behind the screen and laughed. "You two are awfully formal." The young man stepped aside, and the Grand Princess pointed toward him. "This is Tom, my nephew. He handles some affairs around the estate and is reviewing today's register." Tom? I knew that name from my previous life. After the Grand Princess rewarded Anna, Tom's family often sent her gifts. Osmanthus candy, a travel journal, and a pass to Listening Rain Tower. Anna found them boring, and once asked me with a laugh, "Lucy, don't you think Tom is boring? Every time he sends something, he always asks a question." Is the deer doing well? Maybe she was worried about that deer. Anna tossed the invitation to me, then turned him down for me. "Just say the deer is fine." After that, Jack stopped sending invitations. I didn't hear his name again until many years later. Drunk, Tom sat outside the side courtyard and said coldly, Jack searched for you for years. Too bad the only name he knew was Anna. I was gravely ill then and didn't understand. Now I did. In my last life, the name registered at the Grand Princess's estate was Anna. That was who Jack searched for. The Grand Princess asked me, "What reward do you want?" I dropped to my knees. "I wouldn't dare ask for a reward. I only ask one favor of your highness." "Go on." "I want to leave Tom's family and establish my own household." The waterside pavilion fell silent. The Grand Princess didn't agree right away. Jack glanced at me, then quickly looked away. The Grand Princess said, "Tom's family raised you for years and now you just want to leave?" I bowed my head to the floor. "I'll repay them for raising me, but my name, household registration, and my mother's belongings should all be returned to me." The Grand Princess stared at me. "You've certainly thought this through," I said quietly. Dying once puts things into perspective. The words slipped out, stunning even me. The Grand Princess froze and Jack's fingers paused, but she didn't question it. "I'll speak to Tom's family. Go home and wait for news." I agreed. As I left the pavilion, Jack walked me to the corridor. We said nothing until near the entrance he suddenly asked, "Lucy, does your hand still hurt?" "Not anymore." He nodded. After another moment, he said, "The deer is settled in." I looked up at him. His expression was serious. "The white deer you saved ate some grass last night, and its leg has been treated." I couldn't help but smile. "You came all this way just to tell me that?" "Yes." His ears turned slightly red, but he remained perfectly composed. "I thought you'd be worried." My smile faded. In my last life, no one thought I cared about anything. But Jack remembered I had held that deer down with my own hands. I bowed to him. "Thank you." He watched me, then suddenly asked in a low voice, "Lucy, were you at the ferry crossing in the rain 8 years ago?" 8 years ago, I accompanied the old madam to Ling Mountain Temple. It rained on our way back, and the ferry crossing was packed. A boy was shoved off the stone steps and nearly fell into the river. I grabbed him. He had cut his forehead and had no one with him, so I tore my handkerchief and pressed it against his wound. He asked my name. "Lucy." He said he'd repay me someday. When Tom learned about it, his face darkened. He asked, "How did one trip outside end with you getting involved with another stranger?" I anxiously explained, but he stayed upset. After that, I never heard anything about the boy again. I hesitated. Could it have been... Jack looked at me, emotion churning in his eyes. "That boy was me." My lips parted, but I had no idea what to say. Jack pulled an old copper coin from his sleeve. A faded red cord was tied to it. I recognized it. I had casually given it to him back then, saying, "Take this to the tea stall and trade it for some hot water. The owner knows Tom's family." Yet he'd kept it all these years. Jack stared at the coin and lowered his voice. "I went to Tom's estate looking for you afterward." My heart tightened. He continued, "The gatekeeper said no one named Lucy lived there." I stared at him in shock. He didn't look away. I didn't believe him, so I sent a calling card. The next day, someone said you'd left the capital with distant relatives. There was no need to ask who had sent that reply. When I returned, Tom was waiting in the side courtyard. He stood when he saw me. "What did the Grand Princess say?" I entered the room, placed the deer token on the table, and answered his question with one of my own. "Did Jack come looking for me 8 years ago?" Tom's expression shifted. That tiny reaction told me everything. I whispered, "It really was you. You were young back then." "So?" "Jack comes from a powerful family. If you got involved with him, our family couldn't have protected you." I let out a bitter laugh. "You told him I'd left the capital with distant relatives to protect me too?" Tom looked up, his expression strained. I didn't understand why I was angry then. Later, I realized I didn't want anyone taking you away. "What gave you the right?" My question left him speechless. I continued, "Tom, you kept Jack away in our last life, and now you're trying to hold me here again. You claim it's for my own good, but you never asked what I wanted." Pain finally surfaced in Tom's eyes. "I know I was wrong. You realized it too late." He stepped toward me. "Lucy, I swear I won't make the same mistake this time. I'll marry you properly and make you the lady of this house. Mother can't stop me, and Anna will never bully you again." My chest tightened. Had I once longed to hear those words? Maybe. But by the end, I couldn't even admit it to myself. Now, they only sounded absurd. The lady of the house? Tom, you think that makes up for everything? His throat tightened. "I'll give you everything I can. I already have everything I want." I picked up my household registration papers. My name, my legal identity, and my freedom. Tom stared at the papers as his face slowly turned ashen. "You really don't want me?" I said nothing. He suddenly grew desperate. "You spent years with my family in our last life. You treated me so well. When I coughed in winter, you stayed up all night with me. When Anna caused trouble, you cleaned up after her. Mother scolded you, yet you never talked back. If you felt nothing for me, why did you endure all that?" "Because I had nowhere else to go." Tom froze. I didn't soften and continued. "Because I thought your family had saved me. Because the old madam was kind to me. Because I owed you all a debt." "Tom, you mistook endurance for affection and desperation for willingness." Tears welled in his eyes. "Lucy, don't call me that." I opened the door. "Please leave, young master." Tom stood there for a long time. Finally, he bent down, picked up the gauze from the table, then set it back down. "I'll give you the property deeds and banknotes tomorrow." He reached the door, his voice badly hoarse. "Don't rush to move out. At least wait for the Grand Princess's reply. The other house has been empty for years and needs work." I didn't respond. He said quietly, "I don't mean anything else by that. I'm just worried you'll be uncomfortable there." I looked out the window. Even suffering there would be better than staying here. Tom's shoulders stiffened. In the end, he left. Catherine came to the side courtyard the next day with 2 older servants. Her expression was grim. Lucy, do you really have to make such a scene? I had a maid serve tea, but Catherine didn't sit. She immediately accused me. The Grand Princess sent someone to ask whether we're holding you against your will and why we haven't returned your household registration. You've gotten awfully bold. I replied, none of this would have happened if you'd returned my belongings sooner. Catherine's chest heaved with anger. You're an orphan. Without our family, you'd have died somewhere long ago. Now that you've won over the Grand Princess, you're turning against us? I didn't win anyone over. I enunciated every word. I saved the white deer and I gave my own name. When the Grand Princess questioned me, I told the truth. You're embarrassed because deep down, you know Anna's name never should have been given. Catherine raised her hand to slap me, but someone stopped her midway. Tom stood in the doorway, his expression ice cold. Mother. Catherine stared at him in disbelief. You're stopping me for her? She isn't wrong. Tom shoved her hand aside. Catherine froze. Tom closed his eyes, then said calmly, everything belonging to Lucy's family will be returned today. No one is allowed to stop her. You've lost your mind. Catherine pointed at me. What will people say if she leaves? They'll say we mistreated an orphan and that Anna stole credit for what she did. Tom said, then we'll admit it. Catherine was completely speechless. Even I was surprised. In our last life, Tom never would have disgraced his family. He valued appearances so much that he'd sacrificed my entire life for them. Now he admitted his mistake publicly. But I felt no satisfaction. I only felt that the woman I'd been in my last life was truly pitiful. Anna arrived too. She stood outside the courtyard and had clearly been listening for a while. Catherine spotted her and immediately said, Anna, talk some sense into your brother. Anna didn't look at Tom. She stared at me, her eyes still swollen. Lucy, are you really leaving? If you go, who's going to keep me company? The sheer entitlement of that question almost made me laugh. Anna, you have maids, servants, a brother, and a mother. You have plenty of company. She lowered her head. They always agree with me. It's boring. Catherine snapped. What nonsense are you talking about? Anna shrank back but didn't leave. She whispered. I'm not wrong. Catherine was too angry to speak. Anna walked over to me. I really did want the jade pendant. The Grand Princess likes bold girls and could secure a great future for me, but the thought of living at her estate terrifies me. I don't want to follow rules all day or meet so many nobles. I was only angry because you exposed me in public and humiliated me. In my last life, I'd resented Anna for stealing my name, taking what should have been mine, then complaining that it was all boring. But now I realized she'd been pushed along too. The difference was that her family protected her, so she could cry over her pain. I couldn't. Will you ever come back? No. What if I want to visit you? That depends on whether I feel like seeing you. Anna snapped. Why are you like this? I smiled. I've always been like this, I just never said it before. 3 days later, Tom's family delivered my property to the Grand Princess's estate. She inspected the deeds, banknotes, house papers, old jewelry, and the 2 journals my mother had left. Nothing was missing. Tom stood below the main hall looking exhausted. After checking everything, the Grand Princess said coolly, Your family handled this disgracefully. Catherine hadn't come, so Tom took the reprimand for his family. Your Highness is right. Lucy wants to leave your estate. Do you object? Tom lowered his eyes. No. His voice dropped. If she wants to leave, we won't stop her. The Grand Princess glanced at him. Good. Then she looked at me. Your mother's small house is in the south of the city. It's been empty for years. I sent someone to inspect it. The roof needs repairs and the well needs cleaning. If you don't mind, stay in my whispering bamboo courtyard for 2 weeks. I knelt and thanked her. Tom's fingers twitched. He seemed about to speak, but held back. Outside the Grand Princess's estate, he called after me. Lucy. I stopped. He took a few steps closer. I'll have your house in the south repaired. You won't have to see me. I'll only send workers. No need. Don't worry, I won't go inside. Tom, I know you regret what you did, but none of this will make me come back. Tom's eyes turned red. I know. No, you don't. You think that if you change, I owe you another chance, but my life shouldn't revolve around your regrets. His lips moved, but he had nothing to say. Just then, Jack walked out of the estate holding an oil paper umbrella. The sky's getting dark. He handed me the umbrella and I took it. Thank you. Tom stared at the umbrella, then suddenly laughed. You're awfully attentive, Jack. As I should be. She just left my family. Aren't you moving a little fast? Jack didn't get angry. I'm in no rush. He looked at me, his tone earnest. Lucy needs to get settled first. I gripped the umbrella handle, my heart finally at ease. Tom glared at him. And who are you to say that? Jack replied. An old friend. Tom scoffed. An old friend she's only met twice? Jack lowered his eyes. More than twice. Tom's expression changed. Jack continued. She saved me at the ferry crossing 8 years ago. Then she saved the white deer at the deer song banquet. In our last life, I found the wrong person. I spun toward him. He remembered too. Jack met my gaze, his voice barely above a whisper. Lucy, I've lived this life before too. By the time the rain began, I was already inside the carriage. Neither Jack nor Tom followed. I held the umbrella, unable to calm my thoughts. I thought only Tom and I remembered. I never expected Jack to remember too. In our last life, he'd found the wrong person. What happened after that? Did he ever learn I was with Tom's family? Had he ever seen me? The questions weighed on me. They left me feeling suffocated. At Whispering Bamboo Courtyard, one of the Grand Princess's attendants helped me settle in. The room was clean, bamboo grew in the courtyard, and newly cut fabric sat by the window. I felt a little out of place. The attendant smiled. There's no need to be nervous. Her Highness said to make yourself at home. I asked, Is Jack still here? Her smile widened. He's in the front hall. I hesitated, then went anyway. Jack was standing beneath the covered walkway. Rain streamed from the eaves. Hearing my footsteps, he turned around. Lucy. I got straight to the point. You remember our last life too? I do. When did you come back? The day before the Deer Song banquet. He'd returned before me. As soon as I woke up, I rushed to Deer Song Garden. I planned to warn you, but you'd already given your own name. Did you ever learn the truth in our last life? Jack fell silent. The silence made my heart sink. After a long moment, he answered, Far too late. I said nothing. In our last life, I always thought the girl at the Deer Song banquet was Anna. But she didn't remember the ferry crossing and didn't care about the white deer. When I asked about the coin with the red cord, she said she knew nothing. That's when I became suspicious. Later, I discovered a woman named Lucy lived with Tom's family. I tried to see you, but they refused. And then, later, I heard you were dying. When I got to Tom's estate, he wouldn't let me in. He said you didn't want to see anyone. My fingers tightened. In my last life, I knew none of this. I waited outside Tom's estate all night. Jack's voice dropped. At dawn, they hung white mourning banners. My chest tightened. He still looked calm, but his eyes were already red. I never saw you. I stood in the hall, my throat aching. After a long pause, Jack pulled that old copper coin from his sleeve. In our last life, I buried this by your grave. That was when I learned your real name was Lucy. I took the coin. Its red cord had rotted. I had no words. But Jack stepped back. Miss Lucy, I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty. Put yourself first. If you want to uncover the past or leave the capital, I'll help. If you want to see no one, I'll stay away. He paused. I just want you to know, hearing your real name this time made me so happy. I looked up as the rain came down harder, then asked, What about you? What? What do you want? Jack froze, clearly not expecting the question. After a long moment, he lowered his eyes, his ears slowly turning red. I want to keep seeing you. He quickly added, If you don't, that's okay. I gripped the coin, almost laughing. Jack, why do you sound so nervous just saying you want to see me? His ears turned even redder. I thought you'd get annoyed. I studied him for a moment. I'm not annoyed anymore. His eyes lit up, but he quickly hid it. I'll send the house plans tomorrow. You decide how to renovate it. I nodded. He still stood perfectly straight. Also, the white deer is walking again. I finally laughed. You're still worried about the deer? I knew you'd ask. You were right. I stayed with the Grand Princess. Tom's family caused no more trouble. Mary fell ill. Anna was confined to learn manners, and Tom oversaw the work on my house from dawn to dusk. I never went to look. Jack came every day, but never stayed long. Sometimes he brought plans, sometimes ledgers, and sometimes just a note about what the white deer had eaten. The Grand Princess was amused. Jack used to be so quiet, I thought he'd spend his whole life with his books. I nearly choked on my tea. The Grand Princess laughed openly. Don't worry. I won't pressure you. A woman needs a life of her own before anything else. If Jack can't wait, that's his loss. I lowered my head, feeling a little warmth inside. The Grand Princess continued. He can wait. He missed his chance last time. Why not wait now? I looked up in surprise. You knew, Your Highness? The Grand Princess's expression grew more serious. I don't remember any past life, but I know how to read people. Every one of you looks at Tom differently. I fell silent. The Grand Princess set down her teacup. Tom came to see me. My heart stirred. What did he say? He said you didn't want to see him, so he stayed away and asked me to protect you. I said nothing. The Grand Princess watched me. Want to see him? I thought hard. I still didn't. Once I said it out loud, I felt relieved. Then don't see him. 2 weeks later, my house was ready. The day I moved in, Anna showed up. She wore a pale yellow dress and brought only one maid, standing awkwardly in the doorway. I'm not here to make peace. I asked. Then why are you here? She snatched a wooden box from her maid. This was your mother's. My mom kept it from you. I just found it. I opened the box. Inside was a plain silver hairpin, old and worn, with an L carved into the top. My mom doesn't know I took it. Don't tell her. Afraid she'll yell at you? I am. She pouted. But I figured it belongs to you. I stared at her until Anna started getting nervous. Don't look at me like that. I wasn't a good person. I stole your spotlight and thought I deserved it. Then I realized stolen attention meant nothing. A court lady tried teaching me etiquette, and I nearly lost it. That's when I understood how exhausting it was for you to handle all my invitations and rules. I closed the box. At least you get it. Anna asked if I felt even a little moved. I said no. She stomped her foot. After a moment, she asked quietly, Can I still come visit? Send a calling card first. Her eyes lit up. So I can come. Depends on my mood. Anna finally smiled. Then, still smiling, she started to cry. Lucy, I'm sorry. I accepted that apology. Once life settled down, I moved into my birth mother's old house. It was small, but it was mine. The Grand Princess hired 2 trustworthy servants and had the deed properly transferred. For the first time, I could live without worrying about Tom's family. Jack kept visiting. He sent a proper calling card every time. If I didn't want to see him, he'd leave whatever he brought and go. Then one rainy day, he brought me a basket of green plums. How did you know I like these? He looked down, straightening his sleeve. A maid at Tom's estate mentioned it. I didn't ask much. Then what did you ask? He deliberately ignored my question. I decided to tease him. What else did you learn about me last time? He pursed his lips. You like green plums and sweets, hate the heat, write neatly, prefer quiet, and dislike the crabapple tree in Tom's garden. I froze. I'd nearly forgotten. In my last life, Anna and Mary loved that crabapple tree. They made me host banquets beneath it. I hated the long walk from my room and how exhausted every event left me. But I never told anyone. A maid said you'd sit on the veranda for a long time after every banquet. What good did knowing that do you? None. He looked up. But I wanted to know. I bit into a sour green plum and winced. Jack offered me tea, but I asked, Did you fall for me long ago? His hand shook, spilling some tea. I couldn't help laughing. Jack set down the cup. His ears were bright red, but he didn't look away. Yes. His answer was serious. You gave me that coin at the ferry 8 years ago, and I never forgot. Then I saw you help the white deer at the deer song banquet, and I fell even harder. I asked on purpose. You only remembered me? Jack looked at me, his gaze clear. I was in love. My heart skipped, then he added. You don't have to answer now, I'll wait. For how long? He thought about it seriously. As long as you want me to. This man always knew how to make me cry. I turned away. The plum's too sour. Jack quickly said, I'll bring something else. I said no and handed him one. You try it. He actually ate it and frowned at the sour taste. I watched him, then finally burst out laughing. I saw Tom again 2 months later. My carriage had just stopped outside my house when I spotted him down the lane. He kept his distance and bowed only after I stepped out. Miss Lucy, that name stopped me. He'd once refused to use it. Now it was too late. I asked what he wanted. Tom pulled a letter from his sleeve. Grandmother left this for you. I found it in her trunk. I took the letter. The envelope read, For Lucy, in Tom's grandmother's handwriting. My eyes burned. Tom said quietly. I didn't open it. I stared at the letter, throat tight. Thank you. He shook his head. I'm returning what was yours. We stood there in silence. After a long while, Tom said, Anna said she visited. She's changed since then. I told him that was good. Tom gave a bitter smile. After you left, my whole family finally came to its senses. I said nothing. He watched me, his eyes full of memories. In our last life, I always thought you'd never leave. You were soft-hearted and loyal. I thought if I asked you to stay, you would, and I did stay. But it wasn't what you wanted. He finally said it. I didn't understand until the very end. You were so sick, and I still refused to let Jack see you. I was afraid that if you saw him, you'd realize you had another path. After you died, I went into your room and found a page covered with your real name. I'd almost forgotten about that. Near the end of my last life, I was too sick to get out of bed. I suddenly feared that after I died, no one would know who I was. So I wrote Lucy over and over until my hand gave out. Tom took a deep breath. That was when I realized how badly I'd trapped you. I said nothing. Tom lowered his head. I don't expect you back. Just don't hate me enough to hurt yourself. I answered calmly. I won't hurt myself over you, Tom. You're not that important. I said it softly, but his tears fell anyway. He didn't wipe them away. Maybe that's best. He stepped back. Lucy, I hope life treats you well. You too. He turned and left. This time I didn't watch him go. Inside, I opened the letter from Tom's grandmother. It was very short. It read, Lucy, if I'm gone, don't be afraid. I've kept your mother's things safe. If Tom's family treats you well, stay. If they don't, leave. A woman can't live on gratitude alone. You have a name, a past, and the right to choose where you go. I cried for a long time after reading it. Grandmother had planned a way out for me all along. In my last life, no one gave me the letter. That evening, Jack came by. His expression tightened when he saw my swollen eyes. Who hurt you? I handed him the letter. After reading it, he sat quietly beside me. A long time later, he said, She was a wise woman. Jack didn't tell me to stop crying. He simply poured me warm water and set it beside me. Jack, why do you think people get a second life? So they can leave the past behind and meet who they're meant to. I laughed. That was pretty forward. He smiled, blushing. Then I'll take back the second part. No, you won't. Jack froze. I looked down and folded the letter. I heard you. He stared at me, his eyes slowly lighting up. Miss Lucy, can I come back tomorrow? I looked at him. You come every day. That left him speechless, a rare sight. My mood suddenly lifted. Jack, yes? Come over for dinner tomorrow. No calling card needed. As Jack stood, his sleeve knocked over the teacup, spilling tea everywhere. He scrambled to clean it up while I laughed. His ears were bright red, but he still tried to look serious. I'll come early tomorrow. Okay, what do you like? No green plums. He smiled too. Deal. No green plums. 6 months later, Anna got engaged. Not to some powerful aristocrat, but to Mike, who ran a bookstore on the west side. Mary was so upset she barely ate for days. Anna, however, was thrilled. She ran over to tell me, he doesn't mind my bad manners. He says he likes me wild. You like him? She nodded, blushing. I do. Then she sighed. I thought marrying into a powerful family meant success. Then I learned that higher status meant more rules. I couldn't take it. You finally figured it out. Anna rolled her eyes. Stop acting like my teacher. Don't make weird comparisons. She paused, then laughed in exasperation. Lucy, you're impossible. I slowly sipped my tea. Then visit less? I'm coming anyway. She laughed at her own words. Tom never came. I heard he'd taken a post outside the Capitol. Before leaving, he sent a box containing only a few worn pages with the real name I'd written in my last life. He brought them back too. I stared at them, then burned them. Jack stayed. When the fire died, he asked, You sure about that? That was the old me. She suffered enough, let her rest. Jack took my hand. This time he didn't let go right away and I didn't pull away. He said softly, What about you now? Tomorrow I want to see the white deer. Jack smiled. I'll go with you. The next day I want to leave town. I'll go then too. And after that? He looked adorably serious. I'll go anywhere with you. If you go alone, I'll wait at home. My heart softened. Jack, how are you so good at sweet-talking me? He shook his head. I'm only telling the truth. Epilogue, the following spring, the Grand Princess held another deer song banquet. This time I sat beside her instead of behind Tom's family. She asked if I liked my new home. Very much. Jack stood nearby talking with someone. He wore blue-green robes just like the first time I saw him. The white deer wandered slowly through the garden, its leg fully healed. Anna arrived with Mike beside her and waved to me from a distance. Mary wasn't there, neither was Tom. But I no longer had any regrets. Halfway through the banquet, the Grand Princess suddenly asked, "Jack's family sent word a few days ago. They want to know how you feel." I studied my tea. "What did she say?" The Grand Princess laughed. "Don't play dumb." My face grew hot. Jack's mother had visited several times, always treating me with great respect. "We're in no rush. We just need to know if Lucy wants this. If not, I'll scold Jack and tell him to keep waiting." I hadn't answered because I wanted more time that belonged only to me. Jack never pushed. He still came for dinner, watched the white deer with me, and remembered every word I said. The Grand Princess watched me. "Made up your mind?" I glanced across the garden just as Jack looked over. He didn't know what the Grand Princess and I were discussing, and he looked tense. I suddenly smiled. In my last life, I feared others making choices for me. In this life, the choice was finally mine. I set down my teacup. I'll say yes." Jack stood straight but couldn't hide his panic. "Yes." Jack froze. The Grand Princess burst out laughing, and everyone in the garden looked over. Embarrassed, I lowered my eyes to my tea. A moment later, Jack walked over, bowed, and spoke in a tight voice. "Miss Lucy." I looked up. "Yes? Her Highness just told me?" "Told you what?" He paused as if afraid he'd heard wrong. "She said you said yes." I studied him and deliberately asked, "Willing to do what?" Jack went completely still. The Grand Princess was laughing beside us. I couldn't bring myself to tease him any longer. "Jack, yes, I'm willing." His eyes instantly turned red. I'd never seen him like this, overjoyed and nervous at once. He reached out, then stopped with his hand in midair. "May I?" I placed my hand in his. He held it very gently. A moment later, his grip tightened. The white deer wandered past us. It paused to graze. Looking at it, I remembered the deer song banquet in my last life, the name Mary called out before I could, and how I'd accepted someone else's life with my head bowed. Thank goodness I refused this time. Jack quietly asked what I was thinking about. How lucky I was to give my real name that day. He gazed at me. "Lucy," I answered. He smiled. "That's a beautiful name." I smiled too. "I think so too." Afterward, Jack often said he first fell for me at the ferry 8 years ago. I said no, the first time was at the deer song banquet. He said that wasn't right either. Then when was it? He thought, then answered very seriously. "Every time. I'd call him cheesy, and he'd go quiet. But before long, he'd softly call my name again. "Lucy," I always answered. In this life, no one would ever make me answer to someone else's name again. I was Lucy, before, now, and always.